plugin of the week is the Slate Digital Custom Series. This is a recent release by Slate Digital, or at least as of the this particular video, timing of this. So basically, it works within the virtual mix rack, and so you can pull two basic plugins out. One is the Custom Series Equalizer. The other is a Custom Series Lift. They are both based off of the extensive work that has been done by Slate Digital in emulating analog technology. So, and you've seen this with other companies where they do this, where they say, all right, we've put all of this work into creating this emulation technology. Now let's create some unique tools where maybe the frequencies or the frequency characteristics and the emulations at particular frequency settings work for particular EQs. And of course, none of them, they don't tell you, they'll tell you like the high end is a mastering EQ and the low end is a mastering EQ, as are the filters, the high end tube mastering EQ. And that could be so many different things. So it's hard to say. But the basic idea of it is that at every frequency, and so you have a limited set of frequencies, but what you do have within those different frequencies are very musical things. So what may happen on the boost in a particular frequency may be different from what happens on the attenuation. Because, for example, you may be wanting to take away a boxiness that's somewhere in, in this, 400 to 600 range. And so maybe on the attenuation, you're getting sort of a narrower Q on the attenuation to do that without removing some of the warmth. That's the basic idea. But essentially what you have are 4 bands, high frequency shelf, low frequency shelf, and 2 mid parametrics that kind of work within the Q bandwidths are based on the emulations that are there, which you don't know about. So you have to kind of work with that. You have an output level, and then you have 2 soft high pass and low pass filters. So these are soft, usually a filter if it's on a very, third order, fourth order Q, and there are almost none of those in the analog realm. They're mostly like first or second or at best third order on the meaning 6, 12, or 18 dB per octave kind of attenuations. This is soft on both ends, so it's meant to be musical. And then there's also a lift. Now, it doesn't say what the lift is. When I first think of lift, I think of like a tilt kind of EQ, but I don't think that's exactly what's going on here. There's a presence and a silky, presence being more towards the high mids, silky being up towards the higher frequencies, and it's just a simple thing where you put it in. It's a boost-only type of characteristic. Same thing here with the low end, where you have big for lower frequencies and punchy. So punchy might be closer to 100 cycles, 80 to 100, somewhere in that range. Big might be lower in the 60 to sub-frequency area, and then you kind of have to work with it. So part of the idea is that you're getting sort of an analog musical EQ. You don't necessarily need to know exactly what's going on, but you basically plug it in and you go to different frequencies, the same as you would with any other analog EQ, and you're getting some amazing characteristics at what Slate Digital has put together and what they think is like the best frequencies and emulations from the work that they've done. So that's the basic idea. So just on a very simple thing, I have this on the mix bus, and let's just start by kind of putting this in just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on here. And here I can I'll start with the lift. You see how this shifts higher in frequency and high mids. And you can hear how that really adds presence. Same here with the low end. We'll kind of go here. Definitely working in with the sub frequencies on that. You can hear that in the bass. And I can take this out. So you can hear how that kind of brings it out. Now this is like a very rough mix, just something whipped together as part of the mixing with Mike class at the very, very, very early stages of the mix. So just to kind of give you an idea of like how this can really enhance something that is very roughly put together. That's the basic idea here. And so you can see here how that kind of gives you just that a very musical, open way of kind of boosting particular frequency areas. And as you kind of go through this, you get similar things, but now you get more frequency selection. So if I really want to push air frequencies, like you can really push a lot without it getting too aggressive or annoying or harsh. And then it's the same thing as you start to go through with other frequencies. So this is bypassed here. As I kind of push, let's actually go into some higher mid frequencies. You can hear how that's kind of very much more focused. That sounds very API-like to me, where as you boost it, the Q kind of gets narrower. And that's just a guess. You don't get 7K on, you get 2 and 4K on an API, so that could very well be, and you get 8K. Oh, if you're looking at, that's not entirely true. If I was looking at a 560, thinking along those lines. But that would get into the more proportional Q kind of thing. And then just kind of work with some of the other frequency ranges here. And let's see if we can kind of push some lower frequency. So I'm going to kind of put this in on like a sub to kind of see if I can kind of maybe do like a subtle filter underneath that. And you can hear how this gives you quite a lot of control. So just to kind of pull this out, because this is on the mix, let's just kind of just take it straight out with the bass. So there's a like dueling bass parts here. So I can just call up this guy right here. And so this would be something that I would probably do like on a shelf. Warm up the top end a bit. And then kind of push a mid-range frequency for the note. And that might be a little bit lower. And all right, so hold on, I have another part in here. We'll stay with just the one part, just to kind of simplify this a little bit. All right, sorry for the spazzing out on the display here. And you can hear how that gives you like some, some weight. If you don't feel like you have kind of the, an openness, real natural kind of sound, I could also kind of work here to kind of, on this guy to kind of bring in some of the sub frequencies. This should work great with the kick, with the drums. So here, let me kind of shape like the drums and just kind of see if we can kind of work in a very simple way, same type of thing. So I'll go to punch here to kind of give it a little bit more meat on that end. And this needs a little more. This is like a classic one where you can kind of really work the kind of mid-range grit. And if I do this boost here, I could do this as a little bit of a dip to open up the sound. So when I mix this with a So to be a little bit fair, I will pull the output down a little bit overall here. And then do the same here with the so I'm going to back this up on the bass. And then now I can kind of work in more of the air frequencies here. And work a little bit more of the higher frequency stuff. Processing. Again, like very, very rough, but you can hear how with any of these, and one of the things that's very true, and I think a good measure of an analog emulation that's well done, is that when you start really pushing and cranking a lot of gain into a particular band, that it still sounds musical. It's just still somehow kind of holds together. And this is very true of EQs that are well designed in the analog realm, because not all of them are like that. So there are many that will give you all kinds of horrible phase distortion when you start cranking away. But you could hear that when you're boosting by excessive amounts or kind of cranking in or even attenuating at different frequencies, that it doesn't fall apart, that the sound doesn't just sort of collapse, that even though you may have too much of something, it's not over aggressive or annoying or aggravating. And that gives you a lot of flexibility. So this is just on like 3 quick mix stems. And so if you start using this on individual tracks and kind of building a whole mix, you can see where this would give you a lot of flexibility to create a really, 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 lush, warm sounding, musical sounding production. So it's a really cool one. It's a nice addition to the Slate digital collection as part of the virtual mix rack. So when you start piling up all of the different EQs and other emulations that they have, not a bad setup. So very cool one. The plugin of the week, which is the Slate Digital Zoom Out custom series, EQ and Lift.